all profit is value extraction. And that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we've got to get them off welfare.
The last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary, and you're going to have to keep on saying that.
Hi, welcome to Cars and Comrades, your leftist car podcast. My name is Bryant, and we've got Connor and Zach here today. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Pretty good.
Nice. And today we're going to wrap up my book report on Unsafe at Any Speed by Ralph Nader. I don't think we'll get into much more than that in this episode, but probably next episode we'll do a little summation of the life and times of Ralph Nader, some of the other things that he got up to as far as legislation and running for office. And then might have a little segment on the experimental safety vehicle program in the 1970s, which was an interesting offshoot of his advocacy. But first, we're going to catch up on our project cars and see what everyone's been doing. And I don't remember if we decided what order we were going in.
We didn't decide anything.
I feel like I went first last time.
Okay.
That's what I remember anyway.
So Brian, you're first.
Okay, I'll go first then. So I think I talked about this a few months ago, but I was thinking of at one point buying a different car to replace my Subaru. And one of the candidates I was thinking of was the Chevy Volt hybrid.
Oof, that is... I would advise against that. Sorry. I didn't know that was a candidate. I would have...
But what was I going to say? So yeah, I mean, that was more because I had a longer commute. It was more in the city, and it was kind of, aggravating to be in stop and go traffic with a manual transmission and, be getting like not that great mileage,
I feel like a Prius would be a much better option, honestly. And I feel like there was a few other, like, there's like the regular Prius, but then I think like the second generation or third or whatever, a few years later, like they had some other like hatchback versions and stuff that were pretty decent. I feel like that's probably better than a Volt.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason I was thinking a Volt is because it's basically the cheapest plug-in hybrid that you can buy.
Oh, is it even is it a hybrid? I thought it was a full EV.
No, it's a hybrid. It's got like a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder. And
I respect it even less now. Jesus. I think like the battery replacement on those things is like cost more than the car.
Yeah.
And so like buying them used is like, which really is going to be a problem for a lot of cars in the near future, I'm sure. But
yeah. But right now my commute is only like 9 miles each way, so it's not as big a deal, and I'm not in stop and go traffic. I did the math, and it would take me like, I think around 10 years to like of like, buying gas for my Subaru to like make up the difference in, mileage and whatnot to actually pay for the cost of buying the Volt. But hold on.
I think you said that backwards. So you would take you 10 years of driving the Volt to make up for, oh man, yeah, that's too long because it is not going to last that long.
Well, I don't know if my Subaru is either. But
you could buy another Subaru and still it would cost less.
Yeah.
Probably. But there was a car dealership just like 2 miles away from my house that had a Volt for sale. And I'm like, fuck it. I'll go down and test drive it. So I did. And my verdict is it's less roomy than a Subaru, but also like less roomy than a Prius. It has worse visibility than a Prius.
Yep.
The interior fit and finish is very like
It's very Chevy. I would.
it's very Chevy, of its time period. It's probably the nicest Chevy from like 2010 that you're gonna find.
That is
But
a low fucking bar.
Yeah, that's when again you're saying like, oh, I'm thinking about getting a Volt. I'm like, that's a Chevy, my dude. I wouldn't touch that.
yeah. But points in his favor. It does have decent power off the line. It does have decent like ride and handling and decent brakes and everything. So like I can see myself if the Subaru blows up or gets rear-ended and mangled and whatnot and totaled, I could see myself getting one of these. But I'd be looking at other stuff too. I was also thinking of a Mazda Speed 3 or a Fiesta
Ooh,
ST
that is
or
so
something
much,
like that.
so much cooler. Oh my lord, that's not
Yeah.
even close.
Yeah,
Plus,
but
the
like
Bolt is an Uggo, man. That does not. Mazda Speed 3 looks cool. What was the other one you said? Focus ST,
Fiesta ST.
Fiesta ST looks cool-ish. Also, it's a Ford, so that's a little iffy, but way cool. A Volt is an ugly, ugly vehicle.
Yeah. I kind of like the way the Volt looks, but I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you like it, you like it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's okay to have weird tastes. There's nothing wrong
yeah.
with it.
I think it looks better than most hybrid cars. I'll say that. I think it looks better than Prius.
Yeah, the Prius is pretty ugly. I'm not gonna lie. Look, the one Prius that is cool is Brett from Street Fight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's got it painted up real nice.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to find an airbrush artist to put a wizard and a dragon on my car or whatever he has. But the other thing, so I pulled my snow tires out of storage and put them on the Subaru the other day, and I was thinking, do I need to get new snow tires? And I looked at the date code, and if I'm reading it correctly, if I'm looking at the right part of the tire, they were built or they were manufactured in 2009. So I think that means they're a little bit past their prime, and I need to get new tires on that.
Probably, but next question: do they have tread?
They have tread. It's
Beautiful.
starting to dry rot a little bit, though.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it. Just fucking send it. If it's got all-wheel drive, you'll be fine.
Sure. I mean, until I have a blowout on the highway or something.
Well, that's true.
And then also, I think, last winter, I mentioned that I had a leak on one of my tires on the regular summer tires, and I had like plugged it or whatever. Well, that started leaking again on that same tire. So I think those tires are toast also. And then the tires on my
needing two sets at once. Oh,
well, I might need three because the ones on my MR2 are a little bit worn down. So I might be buying 12 tires.
Oh no,
Jesus!
It might be time to declare bankruptcy, man. Like there's got to be a lawyer you can contact.
Well, I mean, I've got some money saved up I can dip into that. Like I was thinking of spending on a Chevy Volt. But I might spend that on tires and stuff instead.
I was thinking about buying a more practical car, but you know what? All my shit boxes need tires, so I guess not.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same price equivalent, but
you'll have some money left over, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be able to do some maintenance on both cars and put gas in.
You can get
That's
a fucking
mod
oil
money.
change. Yeah,
That's mod money right there.
Yeah, I was talking with Zach earlier. I think I was thinking of doing some mods on my Subaru and upping the power a little bit. And
beautiful.
Maybe put coilovers on the MR2. I don't know. We'll see.
I support it.
Yeah. So it's all in the planning stages. I haven't actually done anything other than swap the wheels and tires for the snow tires. Yeah. But I guess, Connor, it's your turn. What have you been up to?
Not terribly too much. I did go last weekend. I did finally make it out to a drift event, which was fun. It was rainy and cold and everything. But I went out and I did a lot better than I was expecting to. because the first event I went to earlier in the season and I was not doing good. This last time I went out and I had mostly good runs and a few spins, but really overall not too bad. It sucks when it's like a little bit wet though, because you have to go really, really gently. So it's a little less fun, but I'm getting back in the groove a little bit. So that was cool. It's also nice that it like basically you can drift all day and not use any of your tire. So that's also cool. Now, I went out to this event and it was like a Friday evening event. So it's sort of a, go after work kind of deal. So it's like dark when I get there and, I get teched in and all that. It's raining, which kind of sucked. But then I already had my rear wheels changed. I did that like a day or two before. Oh no, I left work a little bit early because I would work some overtime or whatever, so I was able to leave a little early, and I changed the tires at home. But then when I got there, I had to put the wheel spacers onto the front wheels because I can't drive like that normally, because if I hit a bump, they hit the fenders and it makes my heart skip a beat. It sounds bad. I don't like it, so I try not to drive like that. But on the track, it's fine because, well, it's fine if it's wet because there's not really too much G-force. I don't know if it was dry. It might be a little bit different, but I did the whole event and I didn't hear any scraping or anything, so that was pretty cool. So that was a thing, although, of course, as soon as I got to the track, I have a small, like, floor jack, and I've used it a few times, but it shit out on me. As soon as I went to use it. I don't know, it just wasn't lifting the car. I'm sure there's, like, maybe just have to add fluid or something to it, but it's...
Was it the Harbor Freight one?
No, well, pretty close. It was one of those Husky ones. I got it from Home Depot for, I don't know, however much, but yeah, it was still really cost me some time there, so I was a little unhappy about that, but we'll see. Maybe I can get it working again. Who knows? So I had to bust out my old scissor jack and a screwdriver, which is how I've done drift events for years. So, like, I'm used to it. And whatever, it was fine. The wheel spacers worked out real well. I did almost have, like, trouble getting them off because I learned the hard way. There's a reason you're supposed to get impact rated sockets and shit. Okay, I've been a cheap ass and I've been like, I have a weak impact. Like, it's an electric impact. It's nothing. It's not like a full-on impact. You know what I mean? Like, it can't even break my lug nuts off. Really, I use a breaker bar to get them all pretty close, and then I use the impact to get them the rest of the way, which is really nice. It works out pretty well for drift events. It's a lot faster than using, like, the old fucking four-way that I was using for years. But for the wheel spacers, like, you kind of have to do that with an impact unless you want to, like, bust out a couple pry bars and, like, get it just right, and I don't want to fuck with that, so I just do it with the however tight the impact will go, that's how tight they're going to be, and that's tight enough. But I did have a problem getting them off. Like, I put them on with the impact, and then it was the end of the night, and I was trying to take them off, and there was a couple nuts that got stuck, like real stuck, and I was like, this is not good. And the problem was I was using an extension, which was also a mistake, but, like, the impact doesn't fit super well in between the studs. So, you know what I mean? So, like, I couldn't get quite all the way down on it. So I was like, I'll just use an extension, no problem. Well, the extension was, like, was twisting inside the socket a little bit, and, like, I'm losing all that torque in there. So finally I was like, all right, fuck it. Let's do it without the extension. It worked fine. I did get them off. But I was looking at my stuff and I was like, all right, I should get the impact rated extensions and sockets because there's a reason you're supposed to use it. And I knew I was going to find out eventually. So I did find out. I should get some impact stuff. It's really expensive and I didn't want to do that. So that's a purchase coming up very, very soon. Oh, and then the other thing, my coilover on the passenger side, after soaking in a bunch of PB Blast, is still really fucking stuck, so I think I'm just gonna leave it at the height it's at now, and I think next spring I'm gonna have to just like get some new coilovers because that thing is fucking stuck. I could take it out, and I've seen people do things like they like literally put it in a fucking bucket of various liquids, but I kind of just don't want to fuck with that because like then I can't drive the car for a few days, and I don't want to fucking deal with it. I need new coils anyway. I'm not happy with the ones I have, so new coilovers in the spring, assuming I have some money, which who knows. And then
Well, if you're gonna get new ones, I mean, you might as well at that point like break out the hammer and cold chisel and just wail on that thing to see what happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, sure. Like, here's the thing: like, if I can, once I take them off, like, I'm just like not happy with them in general. They have not been. They're BC coilovers, and BC basically had really good marketing for a few years there, and I got sucked in with that. And it's kind of like they're not that good. So yeah, I want to change to something new. That mine are just like they're so. I have to keep them the damping max the fuck out because otherwise they bottom out, and I'm not even that low. So it's like, I mean, I'm pretty low, but not that low. So they're just a pain in the ass to deal with. They don't perform quite well. So I think I'm gonna switch to something else. But if I can like actually loosen them up and make them work, yeah, I'll sell these fucking BCs for, I don't know, some amount of money. Give somebody a cheap starter set, whatever. So yeah, I'll fuck with them then. But till then, I got more money to spend, of course. And then I did buy from the specialty junkyard. I got some headlight ballasts. They were like $25 they were selling them for. And brand new from AutoZone, they're like $272.
Fuck! Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I was like, no, I'll go with the junkyard again. The last time I got them from the junkyard, they were $45 each. This time they were $25, and I was like, give me two, please.
Now I wonder if you can just like get an Ultima part that'll work or something.
I mean, it maybe, but even then, I'm sure through the parts store it's gonna be too much. So I was like, fuck it. No, they got it. $25. I'll replace them over and over again for that money. So so that, and then I tried to buy fender liners from them because mine are fucking torn up, and that's part of the reason my headlight went out, I think, is because like water splashes up in there and it's no good. So they didn't have any of those, and I pretty much forgot about it until we basically right before we started recording, and I looked it up. So as soon as I shut up for a bit, I'm going to try and order some that brand new ones, which are way cheaper than I thought they were going to be. So yeah, but I haven't been doing a ton. It's just I went drifting and my car's a piece of shit and I need to do a bunch of other stuff to it, but it mostly works. Oh, and it's going to the shop this week to get some troubleshooting done. So maybe I'll figure out what the issue is. Probably not, but maybe. So yeah. Sorry that was long, but it was that was a long time to say I didn't do that much.
No, you take about as much time as I did, and I did even less. So
yeah, moving on. Hopefully, I'll have more news next time. I also, well, for what it's worth, I left my my rear wheels are still the drift tires that I've just like left on the car, on the off chance that I get an opportunity in the next few weeks to hit the track again. So there may be more in the future.
Nice,
cool.
That's always a good thing. Ooh, yeah. I think I've done even less since we last talked. Because pretty sure I told you guys I sold the Lexus last time we talked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the last thing I did. Oh, wait, no, that's a lie. I completely forgot. I put a door and a fender on my Ranger.
Yay!
Nice. Yeah. So it's not rolling around with a duct tape closed, smashed in door and no fender. Now it's just like a slightly banged up fender. That's actually the same color. I did find one that was the same color. But yeah, the one minor issue that I have is that it was off a different trim level. So I have the XLT and it was off just like the whatever, I don't know, not XLT one. So the pinstriping
I was just about to ask, is the pinstriping off?
There. It's off, yes. It's like, I didn't think it would annoy me, but it's kind of fucking annoying me.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
I'm like, God damn it. It's just, it annoys me way more than the fact that I had to beat both the door and the fender with a hammer for like several hours to get them to clear so that they didn't hit each other, because they're hit in the exact same spot that my really bad door and fender were hit, but it's just slightly less bad. That I don't really care about, but that goddamn pinstripe, it just gets on my fucking nerves.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah, I ended up pulling everything out of my original door that I needed, other than it has glass that's got like really dark tint on it, and the one I have on there has zero tint, so it looks a little weird, all of the windows on the truck being like almost blacked out, and then that one's completely clear. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna pull the glass and swap that. I don't think that's worth it. Or even
I feel like that would bother me a lot more than the pinstripe.
That kind of shit, I'm telling you, there's a massive dent in the door and the fender, and I don't fucking care. It's the goddamn pinstripe. I got weird priorities here, man. Like, I don't know. I considered like taking it to a tint shop and just having them match that window, or like swapping the glass over. I don't know. I don't think I really care that much about it, but I am still seriously considering sanding off the pinstriping on the entire truck and respraying it so that it's like not wrong. You know what I mean?
You know what? You probably don't even. I think to remove pinstriping, like you can. I think there's something you can soak it with, like Goo Gone or something, and just like pretty much like scrape it off without damaging the paint. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
So you shouldn't have to respray anything.
I mean, the clear coat is like almost completely gone on the entire truck, and most of the hood is bare metal. But I'll try.
It's bare metal. Like,
yeah, like it's
okay.
just peeled up so bad that it's
okay.
like,
You got to respray shit anyway. Yeah, you got to respray shit anyway.
I mean, do I got to? Do I got to though? Like, is it a need or is it a want? Because at this point, I'm like, fuck it, it's fine. It's been okay. But if you run your hand along the hood, you'll have a handful of red paint flakes.
God.
But I mean, I really don't think that's that big of an issue. That's pretty low.
The problem
on my
is
list.
but the problem is, and I noticed this, like, you're like, oh, I don't care. I'm not going to have this car that long. And then it's like 12 years later and the car's just gotten worse and worse. And you're like, I didn't think I was going to have the car this long, but you know, I just never changed it, you know? So I'm wondering if that's going to come back to haunt you.
I am getting rid of this truck in the next 12 weeks. Fuck 12 years. Like, there's no way I'm keeping it for that long.
Well, okay, that I was exaggerating, but it could be 3 or 4 years, and Rust can fuck you in that time.
Oh God, it better not.
You keep thinking like, oh, I'm not going to have it that long, but it's like, do you really think your circumstances are going to look so nice that you're going to get a different car in that time? I don't know. I like to hope too, but
I might be delusional, but I keep telling myself that. And I also have 3 other cars right now. So it's not like I really need to hang on to this piece of shit.
Okay, well, this one runs, though. That's a pretty big difference.
It does, but it still has a pretty big issue where, like, when the transmission gets really hot, it'll start to slip. And, yeah, that needs to be addressed. And if I can get that figured out, I'm getting rid of it at that point, because I don't really drive it at this point because of that issue, and I don't want to cause more damage to a transmission that's been rebuilt twice and cost me a lot of money.
What the fuck? How could it still be having issues?
I think it's because I was an idiot and I wasn't paying attention, and I put a high stall torque converter in there instead of like the lower stall. And it has to run up really high rev before it'll shift. And it just does not like that at all. And it tends to start to slip the bands once it gets hot.
That's not
so,
good.
Yeah, I'm going to take it to a transmission shop with it all together still and see if they can like do some troubleshooting, some diagnosis for me, and just tell me if I can get away with just dropping a low stall torque converter in there And then whenever I have a little bit of time, I will I'll pull it all apart and drop the low stall torque converter in there and then sell it with a clean conscience. Because right now, like I could have someone take it on a test drive and they would never know. You know what I mean? Like you would never experience the problem. It would never show any signs of like hard shifting or anything. It would just be like, oh, it has a high stall torque converter. That's why it's not going to shift until it's over 3,000 RPM. So, just pedal it a little bit and it'll shift. No big deal, right? And I could sell it like that. But honestly, I don't even believe in karma, but I don't want that bad car karma coming back to me. So I'm going to try to not do that,
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But yeah, that's the latest update on that. I also pulled like 3 OEM speakers from the junkyard when I was there getting that door and fender. So I went ahead and put those in because it had some janky aftermarket shit that was like half screwed in to all the, speaker locations.
I always thought that like even like the jankiest, shittiest quality aftermarket speaker was probably better than like the OEM ones, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You might have a lower bar for jankiest than you think can exist. Because I literally the driver's side door speaker had one screw holding it in. It was the wrong size for the opening, so the 3 other screws did not match up to the holes, and it was.
Oh.
I mean,
so that's not.
I would say it's an AutoZone special.
Speaker. You're shitting on the speaker, but it's not the speaker that's the issue. It's that like it was the wrong speaker for the car.
That's part of the issue, but I would say calling it an AutoZone special is giving it too much credit. I don't know who made this thing, but it feels like a piece of actual garbage.
Okay.
It's so bad. So yeah, 3 OEM speakers in there, and that thing sounds fucking phenomenal comparatively.
Sweet.
So yeah, I did a little bit of quality of life shit like that. Fixed up the lock. The lock was just kind of working funky before, so I pulled it apart when obviously I had to swap it to the new door. And I just cleaned it up a little and got it running smoother. New speakers, new door and fender. Yeah, once I get that transmission issue worked out, hopefully it's nothing too crazy. If they're like, dude, you need a new transmission or you need it to be rebuilt or whatever, I'm going to drop a junkyard transmission in it. There's no way I'm rebuilding that same one a third time. It's the thing's cursed or it was fucked from the get-go and it'll never be okay. I don't know what's going on with it, but nah, it had its chance. It's going in the garbage.
Or are you going to like anonymously drop it off back at that shop that fucked you? Like,
I mean, legally, absolutely not. I would never do such a thing.
Yeah, okay. I was just
ironically and sarcastically. Oh, I'm a fucking.
You could always as long as the truck is working,
Minecraft, yes.
You could put the trans on a dolly in the back of the truck, and then roll up there with whatever you got to do to rig up the door. But then if you
I was thinking go park across the street, facing away from their shop. Oh
yeah,
and then
yep,
with the trans.
Yeah, that's much better. Yep,
and
that's a good.
I mean, that truck does have a limited slip rear diff, so I could probably do a pretty sweet skid in it. I just, I think it couldn't handle it. Honestly, I could do one really sweet skid in it, and then after that, it would not move anymore, and that would be really embarrassing if I and then stalled in the parking lot and couldn't drive away. I feel like that would not look great.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a reason why people aren't competitively drifting Ford Rangers?
I mean, yeah, that's probably one of the reasons out of many. I would not recommend it. No. But But yeah, hopefully if I get that one sold, and then maybe at some point I'll get back to looking at that Audi and get that fixed.
I'd like to hear more about that Audi at some point. So like, I'd like for you to be able to work on that.
I would like to work on it, but every time I do, I just get so frustrated. It's getting one bolt out right now has literally been the job for the last, like, I don't know, 6 months. One bolt.
Well, let me know if you want me to come over and give you moral support, or at least like drink beer and watch you while you struggle.
I mean, I would always appreciate that. That's fun.
All right.
Just someone, just some camaraderie, someone to yell to instead of screaming at the sky.
Yeah.
That's always helpful. So yeah, I'll let you know next time I get in there. But yeah, no, if I can get both those vehicles sold, I am still seriously considering getting a Maverick. Like, I know I've talked about it a lot.
Yep.
But I just found out that they have, the hybrid one, which gets like 40 miles to the gallon. The non-hybrid one has a 2-liter EcoBoost, and that thing averages like 35 miles to the gallon. And you can get it with all-wheel drive. And that one's only like 25 grand. So, you're already going to pay 20 for the hybrid. What's another 5 grand? You get all-wheel drive and the same motor that's in the Ford Focus ST. So, there's aftermarket parts for it.
Oh, that's that is quite a thought there. That's dangerous thinking.
I know. I'm like sort of hypothetically considering getting rid of my Subi to get one of these, because 4-cylinder, turbocharged, all-wheel drive, has aftermarket support. I mean, shit, man. It's a WRX with a bed.
Yeah, but it's an automatic.
It is. It is an automatic. That's like the biggest drawback. But it's an 8-speed automatic, so that's at least interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
Unique in some way. It's kind of nifty.
I think a lot of cars now have 8 speeds.
Do they?
Yeah, I wonder. It would probably be a huge pain in the ass, but in theory, maybe you could swap in the transmission from Focus RS. Probably
That
be
would
really
be cool.
expensive.
Yeah, I think the Focus RS has a different motor.
Yeah,
I think the ST has the 2-liter, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the RS is a little bit different. But the RS, I think they discontinued partially because their transmissions were like glass, and they had to like replace every one of them or something.
Okay,
yeah, they were. It was kind of a lemon car, unfortunately. Very cool when it worked, but yeah, kind of a lemon car.
All right. Well, then you could swap in the transmission from a Mazda Speed 6.
Oh yeah, because Mazda and Ford use that same motor, right? It's all the same.
I mean, it's diverged for the past like 10 years or so. So I don't know like how much interchange is, but in theory, it's maybe possible.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool to manual swap it. But that's still very much a hypothetical. I think it would be neat though to have like a, just put like an intake and a downpipe on a Ford Maverick and make like boost noises in my little pickup truck. Like, who's got the tuner car? It's like, no, that's my pickup truck.
Oh, you could put a stack in the bed with a little flapper, like a tractor flapper thing.
Yeah. That would be cool. Dual stacks, and one of them is the external wastegate.
Yeah.
Dump pipe. Now that's a thought.
Yeah.
I like it. They also, I've looked at flat out suspension before for my Subaru, but they have a kit for the Maverick as well, which they're like a long travel coilover manufacturer.
Nice.
Yeah. They do
yeah, I've heard of flat out
rally.
suspension. I think I've heard good things about them.
Yeah, they're good shit. I mean, it's like $1,800 for their entry level like off-road style long travel, which gives you like 2 inches of lift and 2 inches more of travel as well, I think, which is like, I mean, that's not bad considering most like mid higher end coilovers for most cars are in that range, 1,500 to $2,000.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I think that would be even cooler. Get a little lift on it and then have a little turbo off-road
Hell
truck.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fucking sweet.
Yeah, very cool in theory, but we'll see if it happens. I don't know. Like I said, I have to get rid of the Ranger and probably the Audi at least, and probably the Subaru, honestly. If I'm being realistic, I think I'd probably have to get rid of all three to afford it.
If
Yeah,
you're paying
we'll see.
cash, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really want another car payment, though.
By the way, I did look it up. You can get coilovers for a Chevy Volt.
But should you?
yeah.
I think it's the same platform as a Chevy Cruze, same basic chassis. So like whatever will fit that, sway bars, coilovers, whatever.
Don't do
I
that,
mean,
Brian.
I'm not
Don't do
encouraging you. I'm not encouraging you to get a Volt. Like, don't get a Volt. But if you get a Volt, you might as well fucking slam it.
Right.
Like, at
that.
that
No,
point,
see that I'm the opposite. If you get a Volt, then that is your practical vehicle, and you don't slam it. You don't put sway bars in it. You get a fucking something on the side, a Miata or something else. Don't fucking mod the Volt. It
Mod
will always
every
be a
car.
disappointment. Don't do it.
mod every car you own. Never leave one single car unmodified.
Well, yeah, but that means. But see, the thing about that is you buy cars that should be modified, not Chevy Volts, not that car.
I mean, I'm seriously considering buying a Ford Maverick right now and modifying it.
I would mod that. That's different than a 4-door sedan that has like 0 cool points. Like a Subaru's got a 4-door, but it's got a lot of cool points. The Volt does not have that.
And what's the best way to give it a couple cool points?
Oh my god! No, all right,
Slam it to the ground, put some wheels on it.
Get that underglow, maybe.
Hell yeah!
Look, underglow is cool in all cases. I will stand by that. Good thing Brandon's not.
I
on
would
this
like.
call.
Oh my god, he'd be having an aneurysm. I would like to object to underglow always being cool. I saw a vehicle that probably had, I'm going to guess, in the realm of $50,000 worth of aftermarket parts on it. All of them white themed. Let's see how long you guys, how much description I need before you guess what kind of car this is. Do you have any guesses right off the bat?
Okay, I'm wondering, I don't know where it was, but is it a blue Civic with like spinning doors?
No.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Not that one. This is in real life, like last month.
Okay.
Probably 50 grand. Okay, what do you got?
Just a wild ass guess. I'm going to say a Dodge Magnum.
No.
Oof.
No.
But I could see it. I could definitely see it. Is it maybe like an Escalade or something?
No.
I was thinking maybe that SUV route could account for that high price tag on the lights.
That's closer. It was an SUV. Is very lifted.
Keep describing it.
It had those deep dish wheels.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very little tread. I'm trying to think of things that won't give it away. It was all white. All of the aftermarket stuff was white. Steel bumpers.
Was it like a Tahoe?
Nope, not quite. Think more annoying.
More annoying than a Tahoe.
And it's an SUV?
Mm-hmm.
What would make it annoying though? What year is it? Give me is it like brand new? Is this like
close to it? Close to it. 5 years max.
Okay. Is it a Jeep Trailhawk or Trackhawk or whatever the fuck? They're like 400 horsepower ass SUV.
So close.
Is it a Wrangler?
Yep.
Oh,
4-door Wrangler with underglow and probably 6 to 8 inches of lift, which means that in my lowered Subaru, the underglow was at my fucking eye level. I was like, I'm going to run you off the road, you fucking asshole.
Oh, man. There's so many times that I'll be driving in my MR2 and a lifted pickup with like LED headlights is right in my eyes, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they had bright white LED headlights, which were behind me, so I got over. And then they had bright white fucking underglow that was right next to me. I was like, God damn it, I can't win.
Look, that's a new trend I've seen on a lot of like lifted pickups and shit. Is like they'll like have like underglow and they'll put in the wheel wells and stuff. And you know what? Underglow is for lowered cars only. It's like it's not cool if I can like bend down and like see the shit. Like it's supposed to be hidden. That's why they put it on really low cars, because it's like, what are you can't even stick your head under there, so it looks cool. When you lift it up, it's like I can see it's a cheapo LED strip. It's not cool anymore. It loses the magic.
Yeah.
If you can see how the trick is done, then it's not magic
cool
anymore.
Yeah, underglow is supposed to be close to the ground, not. That's like a college student hanging the fucking LED strips on their ceiling, and you're like, that's not decoration, man. Come on, do better.
That's fucking corny.
Yeah.
Have you seen the SUVs where they put the LEDs in the wheel wells?
I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking
the
about.
Wheels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought you meant like under the body, like under the frame.
I mean, they do that too, but like, yeah, they definitely put it in the wheel wells. I'm just like, nope, not cool. Definitely not cool.
Yeah.
Look at my
like. I feel like there could be
external reservoir shock absorbers that I have under here that have literally never seen anything but pavement.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be a way that it could be done tastefully. I just feel like I haven't seen it yet. And it like, I feel like it can't be on a crazy lift. If you lift the car too much, it's like you're lighting up nothing. Like I don't know. I feel like there's a way you could do it right, but I have yet to see it. And it's just not my style, so I'm probably going to be harsh on it no matter what.
Yeah, I think at a certain point it's just a light, you know?
Yeah.
Like underglow is cool because it's almost like an ambiance. It's like the car is emitting a glow. Like it's like glowing. But if you can see the light bulb, it's just you're just looking at a light bulb.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like with underglow, you're fucking lighting up the pavement, not look at inside the fucking wheel well of my car.
Exactly.
Very different. Yeah, underglow should be on the street. But anyway, enough of that tangent. Probably time to talk about how fucking awful dangerous cars were back in the 60s and 50s, and how it's all because of capitalism.
Real quick before we do that, I thought of something else that broke on my MR2 that I forgot about. You know how I was talking about how I think I said this, that the stereo is really bad and the speakers are all crackly, but I didn't want to like pull out the dash to get at them. Well, I might have to pull out the dash because on my car, the little switch that goes from like recirculate to open air on the HVAC system, it's a lever with like a cable that opens a door on the firewall.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it had been binding up for a while, and then that cable just snapped the other day. So it's that little lever is just moving back and forth with no change, and I think it's stuck open, which is okay, but unless I have to like drive past the Purina factory on I-70.
Oh yeah.
But so I'll have to fix that eventually someday. But yeah, let's take a quick break here and then talk about some Unsafe at Any Speed type stuff.
Woo.
All right, we're back, and I just have a couple quick plugs before we get into the main content. You know, we haven't said this in a while, but if you have something to tell us, if you have a cool project car, if you have a question, if you need some car advice, And if you want us to read something on the air, just let us know. Send us an email, comment on social media, and just say explicitly, I want you to read this on the air, and we will.
We might.
We might. Don't know if
we might. We'll think about it. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for that caveat.
You can't just go putting anything on there.
Yeah.
We have limits.
But yeah. All right. So back to Ralph Nader. We're going through chapters 7 and 8 today. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit on the foreword to the 1972 version, just because that's what I got from the library. It has a little bit of, more explanation on some things that happened since 1965 first edition. But first we'll start off with chapter 7, the traffic safety establishment. And a lot of this chapter is basically Ralph Nader talking about all the different sort of safety foundations and establishments that were mostly like trade groups, established by the auto industry, and didn't do a whole lot to actually, keep people safe. It was more of a, look, we're doing something to help you consumers. And there was also a few like sort of government agencies that sort of came out of the movement towards safety that Ralph Nader was a part of, that were kind of also just rubber stamps for the auto industry to do whatever they wanted. So, and there's also just a few more tidbits about how dangerous cars were back in the day. And one of those is, so I guess in the early 60s, the design of parking brakes was such that you would have to hold onto the regular foot brake with your foot while you engage the parking brake, or else it wouldn't fully engage. If you did this, if you didn't fully engage it, it was enough to keep the car from rolling forward, but it was not enough to keep it from rolling backwards.
Oh, no.
So this is from a March 1963 bulletin from the Association of Casualty and Surety Companies. So it was insurance companies. I think that's how you pronounce that. Casualty and surety. Anyways, so they put out this bulletin warning of this hazard, and their recommendation was just to educate drivers that you need to keep your foot on the foot brake while you do this, not to the car makers to design a better system. Yeah, they said no problem can occur if a driver trains himself to do this. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. Let's see. So starting in 1952 and all the way up to 1961, some people at Liberty Mutual started designing some improvements to make to cars to make them more safe. And this was headed up by an engineer named Frank Crandell. And he designed a lot of these different features, so-called capsule seats, which... the features included specially designed capsule seats designed to stay moored on impact and protect the passenger from rear end and side collisions. So seats that don't detach from their mounts and fly around. I mean, that's a pretty big innovation, right?
That was not the standard previous to this? That was something that had to be adjusted for. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
He also designed a safer steering assembly that wouldn't, impale the driver or smash them in the face. It says improved maneuverability. I'm not sure what that means. Just, better handling, I guess. Greater visibility, fail-safe brakes. And I believe that means dual circuit brakes, so that you have, separate systems for the front and the back usually. Automatic fire control system. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, like a fire extinguisher that would go off automatically to put out any fires.
Yeah, I wonder, because I don't think we have that shit today.
Yeah,
no,
that's a really good point.
That'd be nice.
Why do we not have that? That seems like a no-brainer, right? Like, I never really put two and two together right now, but yeah, tons of race cars have that. It's not like it hampers the effectiveness of any other shape, like, you know, like a roll cage. You can't really put a roll cage in a normal car if you don't run like a helmet or whatever. And most normal cars have a good enough unibody that they're pretty much more or less okay in a rollover. But, you know, a fire extinguisher isn't going to get in the way. What the fuck, man? Why don't we have this shit in every single car? This makes no sense.
Dude, honestly, look, you could, to just explain how easy it is to mount a fire extinguisher in a regular everyday car. I have one in mine because I need it for the track, and it's right under the passenger seat, but like right in front of it, and the bracket hooks right to the bolts of the passenger seat, and it's like right in front where people don't put their feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could be put in every single car, very easy. And if that was just like the norm, that would be cool. I mean, everyone would have it, and
I think you're aiming a little low. Like, I have one of those in my car as well, but honestly, like, fucking route the shit in so that if it gets in a crash and I get knocked out, it just turns on, so I don't unconsciously burn alive. Exactly, yeah, just like an airbag. It should just spray shit at a fire. It's not that much weight, I don't think. It's not that much more if you plan ahead for it and put it in as it's being manufactured. Like, I wonder if they just did their little calculations and they were like, oh, only like 111 people die per year by being burned alive in their car, so that's not really worth it. We're not going to do this.
That's 100% what it is. That's
they did that. I don't know why I said that like it was a question. Of course that's what it was. Like, yeah, fucking. I mean, you're right though. Just an actual fire extinguisher mounted under the front passenger seat would be basically free when you consider the price of a new vehicle, and would give people an option at least to put out fires. And I mean, if everyone had it, if a car wrecked, someone that was nearby could pull their fire extinguisher out and fucking put the fire out in that car. Jesus Christ. Yeah, they need to be standard. That's absurd that they're not. I can't believe I never even thought of that before.
And you should really have one of these if you have a car that's prone to catching on fire, like maybe a Tesla or an air-cooled Volkswagen or a Pontiac Fiero.
Let's be clear here. If you have a Tesla and that thing catches on fire, a fire extinguisher ain't doing shit for you.
Yeah, you almost
they
want to
take
burn
like
a little faster.
30 to 50,000 gallons of water to put those out. You're fucked. Just run. Like, well, if you can get the door open,
doors might lock you inside. So,
yeah. So this guy also had plans for like a rollover bar, safer windshields, which it doesn't really go into detail on that, and a smooth hood to reduce the severity of pedestrian injury, which I think was not a standard feature until like 2010, 2005, somewhere around there, when like passenger cars had to explicitly, deal with pedestrian impacts.
Yeah, some of those cars from way back look, again, dangerous.
Yeah. A second gen Camaro comes to mind. That thing looks like it wants to kill a pedestrian.
Yeah. He shopped this around to different car companies, insurance companies, and state regulators, and pretty much none of them were interested. The closest he got was what we talked about in last episode, the 1963 Ford Mustang concept had a lot of these same features that they incorporated from his plans, but then those never made their way into the production version of the car. Let's see. The insurance company said, or no, Ralph Nader says the profits of the casualty industries, the insurance industry, now come more from investment income than from earned premiums. So basically, even in the 60s, insurance companies were financialized to the point where they were making most of their profit from investing those premiums than they were from getting the premiums themselves.
Nice. I didn't know that. Interesting.
So everything old is new, or whatever. It's nothing really changes in that. Like, financial industry is just going to keep on trying to suck profit out of everything. So in 1962, the Massachusetts AAA, led by Robert Kretschmar and Richard Hoover, introduced a state bill that would establish a code of minimum safety standards for cars. In 1963, shortly before the hearing on the bill, a special trip to Detroit for the committee was arranged, with all expenses paid. The bill has never gotten out of committee.
Oh no!
So, they were trying to basically start, because like at this time a lot of these regulations were just up to the state. There wasn't like federal administrations for like highway safety or anything like that. They're just like, well, if we can do this in Massachusetts, maybe the other states will follow suit. It's kind of like how California has their own emissions laws, that kind of thing. So Ralph is putting on blast the National Safety Council, and this is an older institution that's existed since I think 1913, and it still exists today. And they
does it? I figured it would have been replaced by the National. Oh God, what is it? Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
They mostly do like consumer safety stuff, like I don't know, so you don't like slip and fall in your bathtub and stuff like that. But at this point, he said that the National Safety Council conducts no research, has not devised any accident prevention measures, or determined any engineering requirements for safe design of automobiles, and has avoided providing to the public any technical information or advice concerning the formulation of safety legislation which concerns vehicle design, nor has it cooperated with any national, state, or local agencies. So he's saying, like, you guys are all about consumer safety. Like, why aren't you looking at cars? Like, come on, it's in the name. What's your deal?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not entirely sure where their funding comes from or where it came from back then. But he goes into a little bit more detail on some of the other foundations. But he's just saying like these people are not serving the public interest. They're mostly trade groups posing as public safety foundations. He also has not very kind things to say about the President's Committee on Traffic Safety, which he says was run by private interest groups with no supervision from the White House. So it was established by the president and given, the I don't know, stamp of approval by the president, but it didn't actually answer to the president or like, take any advice from the White House or anything.
Nice.
Its mission is essentially to see that the federal government stays out of traffic safety and that the entrenched view of accidents and injuries being due to driver behavior is not disturbed. A status quo policy makes very good camouflage. Oh, and here's the closest that Ralph Nader ever got to police abolition, basically saying that cops don't keep us safe, actually. So let me find that passage.
I mean, that's a good take.
Enforcement is another time-tested preventative measure that has not been subjected to much scientific scrutiny. In an article by Dr. Michaels entitled The Effects of Enforcement on Traffic Behavior, which appeared in Public Roads, that's the name of a journal, in December 1960, the author examined data comparing highly patrolled roads in Wisconsin with comparable roads having fewer patrolmen.
Hold on. I can vouch for Wisconsin is still like that.
Yeah.
And Michigan, still like that. Yeah. Very fucking patrolled, goddammit. And they love getting Illinois drivers. They see that fucking plate a mile away and they're like, they're sitting there waiting.
They're like, I know this guy isn't going to show up to the court date.
Oh, yeah. They will fuck you so bad. And those, like, Michigan cops, they hide behind the fucking, like, bridges and shit. Oh, they're motherfuckers. They really are. I mean, they're all bad, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say that's all
forever.
over.
That's the saying. But, like, I know when I'm going to, like, Michigan or Wisconsin, I got to be driving like a fucking grandma. Which, I drive like a grandma more than you would think, but yeah, it's bad. And so Wisconsin, heavily patrolled.
Yeah. And I know, I don't know if this is still the case, but I know at least a few years ago, it was in the news that drivers from Colorado leaving the state were getting pulled over, because like Nebraska cops are like, y'all smuggling weed out of Colorado,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure people were doing, but also it's like,
Might
come
be
on,
kind of
every
their
single,
business.
exactly.
I'm pretty sure leaving a state is not probable cause. So
Exactly.
fuck
Oh,
yourself.
it 100. Well, it's that. Yeah, but we live in a police state,
Yeah, no.
which no one understands as a police state. It's like they're like, oh my god, did you hear what they do in this country or that country? And you're like, you realize you live in America, right? With the
Bro,
largest prison population in the world.
Did you hear what they do here? Like,
It's like, turn on the news one time, please.
Yeah.
yeah.
When I think like a couple different states attorney generals sued Colorado for legalizing weed because they're like, you're bringing crime into our peaceful states where no one ever smokes weed.
You know what's a great solution to that? Make it not a crime.
Exactly.
Congratulations. You just eliminated crime.
It would also like maybe ease up the housing market a little bit in Colorado if people wouldn't keep moving here for weed.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be real nice.
But anyway, so they compared roads that were heavily patrolled to roads that were less patrolled. The author concluded that different amounts of highway police patrol between the test roads and the non-test roads showed no reliable difference in the number of accidents on those roads. Huh.
Yeah,
Who'd
you
have
don't
thought?
say. Interesting.
Yeah, so all cops are bastards. Abolish the police, I think is my conclusion. I don't know if Ralph Nader is going to say the same, but
we will. Here,
exactly.
where we interpret the work of Ralph Nader, we will say that all cops are bastards and should be abolished, and so should prisons.
Yes.
Fuck all that shit.
Oh, and I think I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, but it still kind of blows my mind. It's talking about how anti-lock brakes have been in use in aircraft since the 1930s. So like there was it could have come in handy on cars, to put those in, but that took until I don't know the 80s, 90s for most
it costs
cars.
too much money. Cost too much. Lowered profits.
Yeah. And
which I actually don't even understand how it did, because again, you could just pass the cost on to the fucking consumer like you do everything else. I almost don't get, like, and now we see like cars they've gotten more and more expensive, but forever. But like, they could have just started that process sooner. Like, there's always a demand for it, and people will continue buying cars. And like, as long as it's a huge part of American culture, like as long as the world is built around needing a car, you can charge whatever you want, and we'll be taking out fucking mortgages on cars soon.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason that they couldn't have done any of these safety things. It literally comes down to, like, in a way, they think like, oh, it costs too much, it would hurt our profits. But really, it's like, no, it wouldn't. You literally just didn't care if people died, because you could have made that profit. And in fact, a lot of these features are an opportunity for more profit, because obviously they raise the cost of the car, which gives you more room to, put profit on top of every little fucking feature like they do today. I mean, they could just be like, oh, well, employees have to make more money in wages to pay for these expensive fucking cars. Like, they could have started that process long ago, and they just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, like with most car options, it probably costs like $200 to do anti-lock brakes, and they can charge $2,000 for it.
Exactly.
As an option,
it's like, there's no reason they couldn't have done this. It's almost like just sheer laziness at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, even to this day, they like every new car almost still bills a reverse camera as a feature. Like they will literally advertise that, oh, it's got a backup camera. That's required.
Yeah.
So it's like 2013. You have to do that. But they'll still be like, look, we've got reverse cameras. And they're going to charge you for, like, I mean, maybe they won't charge you extra for it because they can't sell you one
I think they
without
can charge
it.
you extra for it. Like it's built into the cost of the car.
Oh, yeah,
so
it's built into the cost. But it's still, they can use it for marketing just as easily as they could have done it then. Oh, brand new anti-lock braking systems, you know? And then they could upcharge it if it wasn't, you know, regulated to be required.
So fucking goofy. Yeah,
they could use it for advertising. They could charge more for it. They just simply don't fucking care.
You know, I know it's a tangent, but like I feel like through this show and like really looking at how capitalism has functioned in so many ways, I always come back to the realization that like capitalists aren't even good at capitalism. Like they are in some ways, but it's like, but then they're like, y'all are just leaving money on the table and getting people killed needlessly at the same time. Like you could stop death and make more money, and they're like, you know what? Not that. And it's not even like they were ignorant about it. They literally knew. So
I mean, capitalism runs on a quarterly time scale. Like if you sabotage your quarterly profits in order to make, you know, throw a number out there. I don't really fucking care. 10 times, 30 times more money in the long run. It doesn't matter. They're not going to do that. They will never, ever, ever tank one quarter's profits. That's just the way that it runs. It doesn't matter if it's not logical. Because obviously capitalism itself doesn't make any fucking sense. It's,
all of capitalism is like that fucking meme of like the fucking painted over cockroach in an apartment. You know? It's just like, keep it running for this quarter. Just good enough.
The whole system is just bubble gum and rubber bands. just duct tape. It's like my shitty. It's my project cars. It is every single one.
Zach's Ranger.
Yeah, the pinstripes don't line up. One of the windows isn't tinted. There's some sort of smell coming from it, you know. But it's probably affecting your lungs, but hey, it's the best we got.
Yeah, it's the best system we got.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And a couple more things about anti-lock brakes before we move on. I don't know what anti-lock brake technology was like in the 1930s or the 1960s. If I had to guess, I imagine it's probably something like the anti-lock brakes that were on my friend's old Chinese scooter, which I think was like some sort of like spring-loaded piston thing that would like, you know, sort of oscillate back and forth if they started to lock up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I feel like it's probably a mechanical mechanism.
Yeah. But like modern anti-lock brakes are really good. And I think there's an Engineering Explained video about this that's basically saying you can't beat anti-lock brakes because, like, you know, before any boomers or Brandon for that matter says like,
hold on, I'm gonna take this position. I'll be Brandon right now. I'm on it.
You're gonna say, oh, you can just pump the brakes. It's fine. You know,
no.
Do threshold braking.
I will caveat it with this. That's not great for the average driver. Most people should not like. I don't think every single person should be like, I'm able to do like motorsports level driving on. It's like, no, most people can't. So anti-lock brakes are good. I personally don't like them on my vehicle, and it scares the shit out of me when it engages. And I took mine out when I put my hydraulic handbrake in, the one that doesn't work and has never worked. Which I'm hoping to fix maybe this winter. I'm going to try and get that done by a professional so that it does work. But I haven't had ABS in years now, and I prefer it. I pump the brakes, and I brake real gently in the winter, real soft.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing where anti-lock brakes is really going to save your ass is in the winter when you're going from like dry pavement to ice to snow to wet or whatever. You can't really learn to threshold brake in all those scenarios and all those conditions as well as a computer can, you know?
Yeah. For me, my problem with anti-lock brakes, and I think they could work better if they made them like more, I don't know what the correct word is, but more coarse. Like because they work so fast that it's like the tire, and I don't think the tire has enough time to gain traction again before it starts sliding it. Like the interval is too quick, I think, because it's like brrr, and that's, I'm like, the tire, like the grip has not changed in the, quarter of a second that you just didn't apply, you know what I mean? Whereas like
Yeah.
when you're pumping it, it's in the, a half a second to a second or something. The tire actually has some time to regain the grip, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it, like that doesn't work for everybody, but I feel like anti-lock brakes should be a little bit more, the interval on how it engages should be longer. But maybe I'm not an engineer, so maybe they've tested that and they found that theirs is the best. But every time I've been in a car that the anti-lock brakes were on, it felt real shitty. I was like, it feels like it's not stopping it at all. So I don't know. That's my take. I'll
Yeah,
take
I
the
mean,
Brandon position.
I think there's definitely some scenarios where it's better to not have anti-lock brakes, but I think the modern systems are sort of overcoming those. Like one is if you're in like powdery snow, if you lock up the wheels, it can kind of make a mound of snow in front of your wheels that'll actually slow you down quicker. But I think in most scenarios, it's better to have anti-lock brakes. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like it's certainly better for the average driver. Like no doubt about that. I'm not gonna. The vast majority, it is better. For me, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
it's icky to me.
I think I'm like I'm kind of with you, Connor. Like I feel like I can brake better than anti-lock brakes most of the time. Having grown up in like a very snowy area, I kind of
Yeah.
learned how to do that threshold
That's what I'm saying. He's
braking.
like, you get the feel for it, and you're like, no. I've felt when the anti-lock brakes hit, and I'm like, yo, I thought these were supposed to fucking stop the wheels from locking up, and it just like makes
Yeah.
it lock up 100,000 times before I crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of locking up once, I lock up 100 times. Doesn't help me that much.
On the other hand, though, I don't think I'm that much better at braking than the anti-lock braking system. Like, I think it's a very small margin, frankly. And also, I'm fucking lazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it
Yeah.
myself. If I can, like, I can trust the system to be almost as good as I am on my best day. And I just don't want to deal with it. I think it's probably good enough. And I don't care enough to try that hard all the time. I know I'm going to get caught slipping if I don't have it. And so I'd rather I'm like, hey, you got it, anti-lock brakes, right? Yeah, you got it. You got it. It's cool. It's cool. You do it. Not me. I'm not doing it. Fuck that. That's too much work.
Yeah. See, I've done enough drifting in the snow to like with and without the anti-lock brakes, so I did have a chance to get the hang of my car, but and it took a while with the anti-lock brakes. I was like, not working well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Totally
anyway,
fair.
moving on.
Well, and my MR2 doesn't have anti-lock brakes, but I don't drive it in the snow. I've got my Sabru, and the ABS has saved me a couple times in that car driving in the snow.
Yeah.
But chapter 8 is the coming struggle for safety. So this is Ralph Nader looking forward from 1965 to see what are some of the things on the horizon as far as like regulation and safety, and like what we can be doing, or what what tense do I put this in, like what they could have been doing better at the time. And one thing that kind of blew my mind is up until 1953, brake fluid was totally unregulated.
Nice.
And 1953 it was only regulated in one state, in Minnesota. And then by 1961 only half the states had passed laws regulating brake fluid. And these mostly required conformity with the tolerant SAE minimum standards. And
I love standardization, and it's one of the many things I hate about capitalism is the fact that like it's a fucking free for all. You're just like, can we all use the same shit on some stuff? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And I think, like nowadays, most cars use like .3 or 4 brake fluid. And I think at this point, it was like .1. It was like the first standard that they ever had. But, he has a pretty good explanation of why you want good brake fluid. He was saying that many brands of brake fluid at the time came to a boil at dangerously low temperature. Such fluids are called phantom killers by automotive experts because under hard stopping conditions they vaporize, leading to total brake failure. By the time the damaged vehicle is investigated, the brakes have cooled, the vapor has returned to a fluid state, and the brakes are operable. And, the problem with brake fluid boiling is a vapor can be compressed and a fluid cannot. And hydraulic systems like brakes rely on the fact that you cannot compress a liquid. You're transmitting force through a liquid, and if that vapor, if that brake fluid turns into a vapor, then you've basically got no brakes. You've got pneumatic brakes in a hydraulic system, and that doesn't work very well.
Actually, I gotta wonder. A part of me can't help but wonder, how is there even room in the system for it to boil and turn into a vapor? Like, how is there enough room in the system to even have? I guess you can get bubbles in your regular brake fluid.
Yeah, you can get air bubbles, and I think we talked about this in a previous episode. Like brake fluid, I think the word is hygroscopic. It absorbs water from the air.
Yeah.
So if there's just the cap is loose on the brake fluid reservoir, or if there's any kind of little air leak in there, and water gets in, that will boil at a lot lower temperature than the brake fluid, which is usually 500 Fahrenheit or something.
Yeah.
So, just a reminder to the listeners, get your brake fluid flushed, every couple of years or so, because it can get grody. Okay, so on the national scale, there was a bill called HR 1341, and this was to establish a federal government agency to set safety standards for motor vehicles that the federal government purchases, so that the government, like the Park Service or whatever buys pickup trucks, they would be able to set a standard that the manufacturers would have to meet for safety.
Yeah, so it's the idea being similar to how California standards kind of set the standards for everyone in the country, because the manufacturers are like, well, if we have to make them to sell into this market, we have to make them all like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least to get started. Like, I think he said, the government would be buying around 30,000 vehicles a year or something like that over the entire federal government. So that's not a huge amount in the grand scheme of how many cars are being sold, but it would be a start to get, the car industry to actually move on safety regulation. So the bill passed the House in 1959 and again in 1962 by large majorities, but the automotive industry managed to block it in the Senate subcommittee on surface transportation. So just another example why the Senate is a undemocratic system, and why lobbying is a stupid thing and amounts to legalized bribery. It was a popular thing enough to pass in the House, but. And then skipping ahead, this is generally speaking not about this bill. GM Chairman Frederick Donner said about safety equipment, "If we were to force on people things they are not prepared to buy, we would face a customer revolt." And I just thought this part was funny. The Medical Tribune, which is like a, doctor journal or whatever, commented, "It is somewhat difficult to picture a horde of sans-culotte customers waving red flags, attacking the castles of General Motors dealers, determined to rip seatbelts, dual braking systems, left-hand mirrors, safety tires, padded dashboards, etc., out of every car or die in the attempt.
Oh my god, I love the idea that like, you know, I don't think people want anything that would prevent them dying. What do you expect? It's like, oh come on, what are you talking about?
Oh god, yeah. Customer revolts. Yeah, like we're walking.
The risk is what makes it enjoyable. It makes you feel alive when you know you could die in a second.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll get into this later, but there was customer demand for like seatbelts and stuff. That was something that people actually did want. So he was kind of full of shit.
Whoa, hold on. Are you saying that the laws of supply and demand didn't seem to apply to this situation?
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that manufacturers wouldn't want to do what customers demand and instead would choose to sell something else?
Yeah, I thought like the invisible hand of the market would take care of this, but
yeah, that's what I was told in high school. I feel like maybe I've missed something.
Yeah.
I'll have to consult my my macro or microeconomics book again, see what it says about these situations.
I've got a book for you to read. It really goes into the intricacies of capitalism. It's all about it.
Oh, okay,
it's called
yeah.
Capital.
Okay. Shoot me a message.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you.
It's a real quick read.
Yeah, it's very easy. Very easy reading.
You're gonna, you'll learn a whole lot about linen coats, way more than you thought.
Written by this super rad dude named Kyle Max with 2 X's, I think.
Oh my god, I like that. Oh, that's got to be a meme now. Kyle Max, love it.
So one thing that I guess it says that for years the tire industry was trying to get motor companies to buy larger tires to avoid overloading the tires. And
sure.
And basically what overloading means is like the tire manufacturer says, okay, this tire is able to carry, 1,000 pounds reliably. And that means you can have a car that weighs 4,000 pounds, but the car companies were taking, tires that were rated for 500 pounds and building like 4,000 pound cars that would use these tires. And they're like, hey, come on, guys. Like, we got to have some standards here.
I thought this was a scam by the tire companies to make more money, but actually it was a scam by the car companies to cheap out.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, nice.
I mean, it's not like the tire companies were totally blameless, but in this case, they were like, hey, come on, guys. We have this rating for a reason. Don't just put them on any old car. Like,
speaking, I got to interrupt.
Yeah.
I don't have to, but I'm going to. Speaking of ratings on tires, I learned not super recently, but recently enough, because I'd never really paid any attention to treadwear ratings ever until I bought new tires that I got specifically for drifting.
Uh-huh.
And these tires that I got that I thought were like, oh, they have a really high treadwear rating. They have a very low treadwear rating, actually. The average tire is way fucking higher than I thought.
Yeah.
I thought the average tire was like supposed to be around 100, and no, the average tire is like 400 or 500.
Right.
So, so I had no idea. I was like, oh man, these are gonna be like super hard, and I'm like, no, these are like straight up high performance tires that have a very low rating.
Yeah.
Which hey, I'd never paid any attention to it before. I just got like, oh, those tires, yeah, that. What can I afford? Okay, those. So,
yeah.
I know I had said at some point when I talked about buying new tires, and I was like, yeah, these are gonna be super hard and should last forever, which they are lasting forever, but only because I've been drifting in the rain a lot, and also they last at track events pretty well. But yeah, they were actually super soft. So anyway, I'm sorry. I just tire ratings
that's good.
Got me going.
That makes me think. I don't know if the listeners know this, but like a treadwear rating is basically like how long the tire will last, and so
under
like a
regular conditions, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so this is actually this is a good teachable moment.
I think it's important to say that I'm fairly certain that's compared to, excuse me, tires of the same brand.
Yeah.
Like it is an internal scale to the brand. So
no, I thought it was across everything. Like
I don't think it is. I don't think
I
that
think
it is.
it's a little bit hazy, and I think I heard
think
something
each
that
brand does their own testing, so it is sort of internal in that way. But like, the idea is it's compared to a 100 treadwear tire, which is like the standard back in whatever fucking decades and decades ago, and now they make them so that they last a lot longer. But like, it's like, what is it with respect to how would it compare to a 100 treadwear tire? So like a 500 treadwear tire will last 5 times as long as a 100 treadwear. And, you know, generally speaking, this isn't always true, but depends on the compound. But the lower the treadwear, the grippier the tire should be. So it'll work really, really well for less time. Whereas like a high treadwear is going to last forever and ever and ever, and it may not be quite as grippy. But I realized this at one point when I was looking at the tires on my partner's car, and she's got like a Subaru Crosstrek, so it's nothing special. And I looked at it, it was like 720, and I was like, get the fuck out. Hold on. I think I just learned some shit about treadwear that I did not know previously. So, yeah. That led to some interesting discoveries.
Yeah. And I remember hearing someone, maybe it was at a tire shop, say that like the industry is moving away from treadwear and towards a different standard, but I don't remember what that is, and I didn't look it up. So
sounds like something they would do to obscure their bullshit. But
yeah.
Funny enough, as someone who drifts, I know very little about tires because I used to drift exclusively on tires I got out of dealership dumpsters. So that's not a joke. I mean, literally, I got my used tires out of the dumpsters at dealerships at night, and so I never paid any attention. Had no idea. So anyway, sorry, back to tire ratings and such.
I was going to say, I might in the near future have 12 used tires for you if you want. Various sizes and compounds.
Oh yeah, you're probably not the right size and shit. What am I thinking? I was for a second. I was like, oh yeah, I could. Maybe we could ship those. And then I'm like, oh wait, you've got like 14s and shit. No.
But yeah, so like also to throw some shade on the tire industry, at this point at least, there were no reliable purchasing guides or any law anywhere dealing with tire safety.
Whoa, so like you mean the market wasn't providing consumers with information they needed to make buying decisions?
They were doing all kinds of marketing that had no basis in reality.
Damn, again, I'm going to have to consult my old economics textbooks because I feel like basic economics has failed me.
Yeah. There's this New York State Senator Edward Speno, looked into this. It was his big thing that he kept getting letters from constituents where they would get like brand new tires that would blow out on the highway with like only 1,000 miles on them or something. And it says the more he looked into the matter, the more he learned of the inability of tire buyers to know what they are buying. Any quality of tire could be sold, even those as advertised for $7.95 as perfect for in-city driving. I don't know what the conversion rate is for $7.95 to modern dollars, but that doesn't sound like a lot for a tire.
It's got to be cheap, I would imagine.
His legislative committee visited Akron, Ohio, home of four of the big five tire companies in September of 1963. At a dinner given in the committee's honor by the tire company leaders, Speno proposed the establishment of minimum safety performance standards for new automobile tires. Stunned silence greeted the end of his speech. One dinner guest spilled both his coffee and his after-dinner liqueur onto the man seated to his left. Speno had not only said something no one had ever said before, but it sounded like he meant it. So basically, the tire industry is like, we'll totally cooperate with you on writing this bill. And they're like, okay, so we want, standards on like, blowout resistance. Yeah, we can do that. But come on, man, like don't put in these standards on like grip and skidding. And like, I don't think we can really do that right now. So they worked with him on this legislation, but then, and they're like, okay, this version is really good. We'll totally back this bill if you bring it up. And then he brought it up, and they're like, no, fuck this. Who's this guy saying that he has to like regulate our industry? Fuck this guy. We've never seen this guy before in our lives. I don't know what you're talking about. So I mean, that seems pretty familiar if you've read on the like, you know, industry regulation type stuff. And there's more of it of like this guy Spino, you know, just fighting against the tire industry and them telling him to fuck off, basically. There's a few people that were, there's a few like auto industry people that basically told these, you know, like Ralph Nader or Spino or these other people that were trying to enact legislation to make things safer. Like, hey, look, the auto industry is a huge portion of the American economy. And, you know, we wouldn't want something to happen to that because like it would have all kinds of downstream effects on the American economy. You know, we can't just like, we can't have that risk to our business. Let's see, how did they put it? General Motors Vice President William Mitchell pointed this up succinctly. The motor car must be exciting and create a desire, not to become mere transportation, or we will have just utility and people will spend their money for other things such as swimming pools, boats, hi-fi sets, or European vacations. And then Ralph Nader says, or it might be added, education, clothes, food, medical care, furniture, housing. And he's basically saying like, hey, we could have public transit for the same amount of money and it would cost less and serve more people and a lot less people would die, but that wouldn't be profitable for these companies, of course.
Yeah, that's the trouble. That's man.
He says there's also the public policy that ignores needs for rapid transit and builds the highways and provides other services that make possible the growth of the automotive sub-economy. It is also clear that the manufacturers are increasingly relying upon and encouraging a demand for automobiles, which has little to do with a demand for transportation. So the car companies are selling like, you know, the sexy car that'll attract the person that you're attracted to, or like the big truck that can like climb mountains and haul bales of hay or whatever. They're not like, but most people aren't using them for that. It's just transportation. And, you know, there's nothing sexy about trains or buses or whatever. But that's just what people need to get around. And it would be a lot better system. Maybe I'm projecting some of my own opinions on this, but I think that's part of what Ralph is saying.
Yeah, I think makes sense.
And then do we have to wrap up here or should we get on to the forward part?
Let's get on to the forward as long as we can be semi-quick.
Okay.
Quick adjacent. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not
One
helping.
One thing that I definitely want to get in here. Let me open this up, and this forward, the page numbers are in Roman numerals, which I like. Okay, I understand why they did that because there's no such thing as lowercase numbers, but also like it's I don't know what the fuck LVI means or whatever. So one thing that he brings up in this forward that's not mentioned in the chapter on the Corvair is the heating system for the Corvair. And it depends on like the options and the year of the Corvair, but they had two different systems for heating. Because it's an air-cooled engine, you can't just have a conventional heater that's like basically a little miniature radiator in your dashboard. So they had what the Volkswagen had at the time, which was a heat exchanger off of the exhaust that would, you know, bring fresh air, pass it over the exhaust, heat it up, and then blow it into the cabin. And the problem with that is if you have any kind of exhaust leak, it'll blow carbon monoxide into the cabin also.
Oh, what a little fun gas.
Yeah.
All right, get you ready for bed.
And this came up in a lawsuit in 1962. Philadelphia attorney Edward Wolfe. Let's see. His client John Petrie suffered permanent brain damage as a result of driving long distances under such harmful exposures in his 1961 Corvair Greenbrier station wagon. So, I don't know. That's a lot of carbon monoxide to cause permanent brain damage. And of course, General Motors fought this. They offered to settle out of court for $125,000. But only if Wolfe would sell to General Motors all his depositions, all information from expert witnesses, his entire file, and the car itself.
Nice.
In addition, Wolfe, Petrie, and Wolfe's law firm had to sign a statement pledging not to talk, write, or otherwise promulgate facts about the case.
All right. Well, interestingly, it wound up in the foreword to this book. So, what happened there?
I think it went to trial and they won, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think they settled because
yeah,
because here we're hearing about it.
Yeah. And then the other system they had for the Corvair was a gasoline burner under the dashboard. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's like a little camping stove that would siphon off a little bit of gas from the gas lines and burn it, and then have a little heat exchanger to heat up the air going into the cabin.
Excuse me?
That sounds completely safe. Yeah, fine. No.
I'm
So
confused. Why did they have this little Rube Goldberg setup when they could just run it off the fucking engine? What do you think? What?
Well, because there's no coolant in the engine. There's no water in the engine to heat up.
Maybe I missed that part. Why is there no water in the... Oh, it's air-cooled?
It's air-cooled. It's like a Volkswagen, basically.
Anyone who designed anything air-cooled, that's... Gulag should exist for people who made air-cooled engines. What the fuck? We'll take that air and use it for heat. What the fuck?
Well,
my God.
Well, that's what caused the carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right. Oh, man. What a... Unbelievable.
So you kind of fucked either way.
Oh my God, just put some fucking coolant in the... It's so easy. Why would you do anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, I'm sorry. That's just shocking to me.
Well, and beyond just the danger of having an open flame in your dashboard, if that burner was a little bit, mistuned, it could make carbon monoxide gas that could get in the cabin also.
Of course, yeah.
So... You're really fucked either way. Like, just don't own a Corvair if you live in a cold climate, I guess.
I think don't own a Corvair is probably good advice. You don't need that last qualifier there.
So I mentioned planned obsolescence, and former villain of the show, Alfred P. Sloan, said outright, in order to make more people purchase more cars, we build cars so that they will last on the average person 4 or 5 years. This provides for a greater turnover of automobiles, labor, and raw materials.
Wait, who was Alfred P. Sloan again?
He was the head of General Motors in the 1930s.
Oh my God! I didn't know that. I guess I forgot that quote existed because it is so like we've all known about engineered obsolescence. If you work on a car, you can discover it pretty easily. But like, holy shit!
Yep, just came out right and said it. And then I'll try and read a little bit longer section. This is how the foreword opens, and this is about Robert McNamara, who you might remember was also the Secretary of Defense, I think, under LBJ, and was one of
a great person to talk to,
and was one of the major, I guess, people that executed the Vietnam War and did all the aerial bombing and all that kind of stuff. Cool dude, but before all that, he was an executive at Ford. And for Robert Strange McNamara, I don't know why his middle name is Strange. Literally strange, the word strange. December 1955 was a most difficult, if not bizarre, month. General Motors was trying to get him fired from the Ford Motor Car Company for committing the sin of safety. Earlier that month, a GM executive, acting with the approval of the company's chief, Harlow Curtis, had called Walker Williams, Ford's vice president for sales, to express GM's strong disapproval for Ford's safety campaign for its 1956 models.
God damn you bastards. We don't want to do safety too. You should back off.
Exactly.
Oh, man. I love competition under capitalism. It's so fucking great.
Yeah. GM knew that the Ford cars could not match the newly restyled Chevys. What they were so disturbed about was the heavy promotion of safety options, padding of the instrument panel and seatbelts by McNamara, then head of the Ford division and clearly heading for the presidency of the entire company. So he had all these McNamara had all these marketing campaigns going out to dealers that had pictures of Fords and Chevys of the same year in crashes. So he got photographs from like sheriff departments around the country of all these crashes and compared them. See this Ford and this Chevy were in similar accidents, and look how fucked up the Chevy is, and look how relatively put together the Ford is. These are much safer. And of course, like I said, GM freaked the fuck out.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
It says the number one auto giant, General Motors, was not without friends in high places at Ford Motor Company. Ford's chairman of the board, Ernest Breach, was formerly GM's chief financial officer. Dale Harder, Ford's head of manufacturing, had held a similar position in General Motors. And Louis Crusoe, executive vice president of the car division, was formerly with the Cadillac division of General Motors. So it's all one big club, and they're like,
in it.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Dale, could you take care of this McNamara guy? He's really fucking up with our sales for the new quarter, And they did. They basically demoted McNamara, took him off of this promotion, and said, you better shape up and put together just a regular ass advertising campaign. Yeah. And then one thing it says is they like wildly underestimated the demand for seatbelts at Ford. When they first started offering seatbelts as an option, they went to an aircraft supplier to get the seatbelts. And then it says, all of a sudden, instead of supplying 50 belts a month or 50 buckles a month, we demanded 1,000 buckles a day. The result was that it was impossible for us to supply our dealers with stocks adequate to meet the demand at that time.
Oh, no shit.
So again, there was actual demand for this, but the car companies are like, nah, I don't know about that.
Oh, it's so incredibly dumb.
Yeah.
These customers are just demanding so much of us, and what are we going to do? Supply it? That's absurd.
And it says, oh fuck, hold on, where was it? There's this guy, Dr. Haddon, who is investigating, like whether like 3-point safety belts, like with the shoulder harness, were an actually good idea if it was actually worth it. GM tried to trick Dr. Haddon with misleading film and information about the hazards of shoulder harnesses. This time, under pressure from Secretary of Transportation Alan Boyd, Haddon turned to public sources for help, temporarily freezing the standard while publicly pleading for supporting data. Volvo produced a recently completed massive study which showed that out of 28,000 crashes investigated in Sweden, there were 0 deaths under 60 miles an hour in crash impacts when the front seat occupants were restrained by the shoulder harness lap belt combination, while there are fatalities at such low speeds as 12 miles per hour for unrestrained occupants.
Yeah, it seems kind of obvious.
So GM was like, No, these are actually less safe. These shoulder harnesses, because I don't know, they'll choke people, I guess. Uh, and then Volvo's like, actually, we have the data to back this up. I just thought that was fun.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of how ExxonMobil knew that their products were causing serious damage to climate, and they their own scientists said so, and then they ran campaigns to convince people that the opposite was true.
Yeah. Oh, and
Kinda, yeah.
like the whole concept of a carbon footprint was made up by the oil industry
Yep.
to
Yeah.
put the responsibility on us rather than them. It's like, should you really be eating that hamburger? That's like that's a lot of carbon, man. Don't
I
don't
think
look
we
at
can
those
think.
don't look at the Gulf of Mexico right now.
Pretty sure it was BP specifically that did that too.
Yeah.
So thanks, British Petroleum.
Yep. I've got more, but I'll just leave it with one more thing. In 1970, there was an idea to create what was called a radar brake. And this is basically like radar cruise control that like recently just came out, but like a very primitive like analog version of it. That basically like if your car was coming up at a stationary object or another car that wasn't moving as fast, instead of rear-ending it, it would automatically engage the brakes with a radar system.
Interesting.
So this was people were thinking about this and doing prototypes in 1970, and it didn't enter the mainstream until like 2010 on luxury
Yeah,
cars.
2010-ish. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh man. Again, a lost opportunity for profits.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
So I could go on, but that's I think all the time we have for today, and we'll get in a little bit more to the life and times of Ralph Nader and like I said, the safety car program of the 1970s, which produced some interesting results. But
yeah, definitely looking forward to that. So
yeah,
it'll be nice. But this has been a really fun book to go through for sure because it's really fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like basically while I was reading this, I just kept like a pad of sticky notes, and every time I got to a line where it's like, what the fuck, I would tear off a little piece of sticky note and stick it right there, and then I went back later and made my notes off of that. So that was like there's a lot of those moments where I'm like, they did all this shit, what the fuck, like they could have saved lives, but they didn't. So yeah, I would suggest to the listener, if you can get a copy, it's worth a read. It's a little bit dry in parts, but maybe not quite as dry as Capital.
I don't think anything's quite that dry.
Any other thoughts before we wrap up here, guys?
Nope. I think that's a pretty good note. Oh, follow us on social media and stuff if you aren't already, which you probably are. But if you are already following us on social media, why don't you go ahead and maybe give our podcast a review? That helps us, I think. Say nice things about us and whatever. Maybe other people will listen. Who knows?
Yeah.
We appreciate that kind of stuff, though.
Yeah, and we've been having fun doing the bonus episodes with Turn Leftist and those folks. That's been fun meeting the various different podcasts and stuff. So go and check those guys out if you haven't already.
Yeah, it's a good group of it is definitely a good group of shows of like good leftists who aren't suddenly gonna start saying that they're like MAGA chuds or something randomly, or like come out with like bonkers ass fucking takes, or be like, you know what, Vaush is really smart actually. Like, it's a lot.
I think we should team up with the MAGA people and do MAGA communism. That's a normal thing that normal people think, right?
There are so many like leftists. Like I see it on Twitter a lot, and you're just like, what the what is happening? Just be normal. Oh my god. So yeah, it's a good group of podcasts that we've been fortunate enough to get involved with. That they're all pretty good. Nothing crazy coming out. Good, regular leftist folks who I respect.
And a reminder to the listeners, every once in a while, go log off, touch grass. Don't get in arguments on Twitter. It's not worth it.
Yeah, and question people you like, even us.
Yes.
I'm sure we have some bad takes.
I know we have some bad takes.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I've never had a bad take in my life.
All right. Well, on that note, I guess I'm good to go.
Yeah, let's log off and touch grass, guys.
I'm gonna go touch the shit out of some grass and make it really weird too. Put my fingers all over it.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
When left entirely on its own devices, capitalism foists its diseconomies and its toxicity upon the general public and upon the natural environment. And then it does an interesting thing. It eventually begins to devour itself. If the paladins of corporate America want to know what really threatens our way of life, it's their way of life.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
It's important that we examine the twin forces behind the Biden candidacy, the billionaires and the Bolsheviks.